To you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, guys. Michael Moore.
Hey.
Hi, Michael.
There he is.
Hey, why did you start with that? Hey. we're very energetic here, Michael.
Look how.
Let me explain what's going on.
Because he's been beating up on CNN.
Yeah,
he's
Michael.
a little tired.
You're talking to Opie and Anthony. We met back. You're exhausted. We met back in the day, and I know what's going on.
It kind of wears you out.
Yeah. Well, this is probably your 20th interview of the day, and you're just like,
at least,
hey, man.
No. I said I would only do 2 this morning.
Oh, really?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I said it had to be you guys and the Tom Joyner show. You know Tom Joyner?
Yes.
Sure.
Of course.
Yeah.
Michael saw Sicko. It was great. And believe me, I am not probably not on the same wavelength as you are politically. I'm not one of those loony, crazy right-wing Republicans, but I think our ideology probably parts ways when it comes to a lot of socialized programs and a lot of your subject matter in Sicko. But I think it's a great movie. You did a very good job of showing what's going on in this country as far as the medical profession goes.
Well, thanks.
Congrats.
You know, and actually, I made it for guys like you who don't necessarily agree with me. And you saw it, so you can see that it's a different movie than the last one.
I've liked all your movies, though. I gotta be honest with you. It's even when I completely disagree, I'm like, Jesus Christ, this son of a bitch.
He knows how to make a movie.
But yeah, I sit there and I there are some things I agree with, some things I don't, some things I think maybe you're, because here I like your narrative. There'll be nice music playing on a fun part where things are supposed to be light, and Michael will talk like, and we went into this guy's office and he didn't want to talk, or he's saying this, and then when something very very sensitive is going on, we brought these soldiers into the hospital. Your voice changes, and I'm like, God damn you.
He knows how to work it.
You can work it. Do you do that consciously?
I wish I was that talented.
When you're narrating.
You make it sound like I actually know what I'm doing.
It's like I know to be sad now because Michael's voice got sad.
Michael, this is Jim Norton. Nothing. I was hoping to be recognized by name. And I liked Sicko very much. It really is. What was the most despicable thing you think that you found? I mean, it's really hard for anyone to defend the insurance companies. Somebody made this point to me. Is this correct or not? Because I'm not as well versed on it. I was talking about, the HMOs kind of suck. And he was saying that what really pushed the HMOs through was trying to get socialized medicine, and Hillary Clinton are what made them as powerful as they are. Is that complete nonsense?
Well, they really got their start with Nixon, because I have these secret Nixon tapes that nobody's heard, and I put them in the movie, and you get to hear how Nixon and the Karl Rove of his time, this guy named John Ehrlichman, sat around in the Oval Office trying to figure out a system where insurance companies and doctors would provide less care so that the insurance companies would make more profits.
And how would that benefit the president, and why would he be interested in doing that?
They were among his main contributors, and they wanted this to happen. And they had come into the Oval Office and met with them, saying, "Look, we've got this great scheme cooked up." The insurance companies did, where we're going to rig the system where doctors do as little as possible, so that we don't have to pay out very much money, which will increase our profits. And it worked, and the whole country fell for it, too. I mean, everybody said, oh, yeah, HMOs manage care. This is a good idea. We'll be smart about it, and, we won't go to the doctor for everything, and blah, blah, blah. And what he ended up with a system here, as I show in the movie, the case like with one woman who, she goes in for an operation, and it ends up costing too much money, and the insurance company goes, we don't want to pay this bill. This is too much money. So they send an investigator out, and they say, try and find something in her past where we can claim that she didn't tell us that she had something. And they find out she had a yeast infection, years ago.
Yeah.
And because of that, they dumped her, Blue Cross, they just dumped her off the rolls and wouldn't, tried to get their money back from the doctor from the operation.
You're a great visualizer. Just as a filmmaker, like you really have this brilliant way of putting... and again, whether I agreed or disagreed with certain points, like when you brought the Columbine, I think it was, kids into Kmart, and had them, that was just such a brilliant couple of things to have. You're great at having things collide visual images collide on film to make a point. It's really something you're great at.
Well, thank you for saying that. I mean, I really enjoy doing this, and I think film is a great way to tell a story, and that's what I try to do. And I try to make movies, that appeal to. I come from Flint, Michigan, and we, you don't really go to many documentaries in a place like that, and I never did, and I never really liked them. I always thought they were pretty boring, and I thought, well, maybe there's a different way to do this. It will make it a lot more entertaining, because it's Friday night. You're going out on a date, or you're taking your wife out, or whatever, and you don't say, hey, honey, let's go see that healthcare documentary. It's like you worked hard all week, and especially if it's a date, you're sitting there during the movie thinking about what's going to happen after the movie. You don't want to be having the buzzkill of going to some documentary that's just going to ruin the night. So.
There's been critical stuff, obviously, about you, like, there's a website, Michael Moore's Lies or something like that.
Oh, God, there's dozens of websites at me.
Well, the question I have, and again, I don't know if this is true or not, and Roger and Me I thought was great. You kept going to Roger's country club to ask if you could speak to him, and he was continually saying no. Now, I've been told, and I may be wrong, was that not his country club at all that you were going to?
No, it wasn't. That's right in the film. I go there, and they say he's not here. You're in the wrong place. So then we go to another place. I mean, that's right in the. When people make up stuff like that, they hope that people haven't seen the movie or have forgotten it. Like I read this thing recently, where they said he actually talked to Roger Smith. And I'm thinking, yeah, it's in the movie. At the end of the movie, I bust into his Christmas party and have a brief interview with him. So you read this stuff and you realize, look, I understand why they've got to go after me. I've been somewhat successful in getting my message out to a lot of people. It doesn't just preach to the choir; it reaches across wide, deep into mainstream America, and that makes it frightening to them. And so they go after me, and I accept that. I understand why they do that. But on this issue with healthcare, it's like everybody's got a story to tell of how they've been screwed over, by their insurance company, by a doctor, by a hospital, by something. People can, how many times have you had to wait in an emergency room for God knows how many hours? I mean, everybody's got some story to tell. Everyone's been affected by this. So going after me on this, they don't know what to do because people sitting at home are going, yeah, I can tell you a story.
But sure do you have an answer?
You guys sitting there can tell a story,
Do you have like an answer to this? What would work? Because I saw obviously Canada has socialized medicine, and there were just fantastic stories coming out of Canada in your movie. But I honestly cannot see the country with the way we are. We're different people than Canada, obviously. I cannot see this country the way we are accepting some kind of huge socialized program like that. You'd have a very small minority of people, the rich, paying for a very large majority, the poor, trying to get health care, and probably maybe not being very honest or upright about it. And I don't think we're the type of people that can handle that. Just as the communists, when the Iron Curtain came down, weren't really that hip on democracy and figuring that out. I think there's too many people that would take advantage on the backs of too few of the people that are actually footing the bill.
I know we don't trust ourselves very well, do we?
We really don't.
They don't. In those other countries, they don't think like that. They don't think, oh, somebody's going to scam the system here. What they do is they say, well, you know what, a small percentage will always try to scam the system. But the majority of people aren't that way. The majority of people actually are honest and good people, and they'll behave properly.
And I was always wondering where during your movie, I'm just going, okay, but where is the money coming from? Where is all this money coming from?
Oh, the money part's the easy part. If we switched to a universal health care and national insurance plan, right now it costs us, the consumers, close to $400 billion a year in administrative costs for these private insurance companies, not to mention the profits that they have to make, so they have to build that into it. All of that would be eliminated. It would actually cost us less. That's why in Canada, if we spend like around $7,000 a person here in healthcare each year, Canada, Britain, France, these other countries, spend around $3,000, less than half of what we spend, and yet they all live longer than we do. And in fact, they don't have to wait to see a doctor in Britain, in France, and some of these other countries the way we have to wait. You can call a doctor in, say, Germany or Britain, and you can see a doctor that day or the next day, and that happens about 70% of the time.
Well, you brought up a good point there about people living longer in some of these countries. We as Americans live an awful lifestyle. There are some very unhealthy people here just because of the way we live and eat and these fast food restaurants. I got to say, Michael, you're not the picture of health yourself as far as your weight goes, and there's an epidemic of obesity in this country that I think would be would cost a lot of money to take care of.
Yeah, 2/3 of the country is overweight. It's a big problem. Part of why they don't have this problem as much in these other countries is because they really focus a lot on preventive measures. Preventive medicine. They talk a lot about nutrition. They start that right in the schools. I mean, you're not going to go to a school in Britain or France and find a Coke machine like you do in this country. And so you've got kids, fourth graders, fifth graders, in this country going to the pop machine, soda machine, and drinking Cokes during the day. And it starts there, and it's a very bad place to be, a very bad situation.
Don't you see that though as being like there seems to be this huge outreaching spider web of what our country is about that affects the health care in this country, and that's why I don't think socialized medicine can really work until we fix all that other stuff, because it's just we're in such a mess as far as the health of this country goes, that I really think there's a problem having the taxpayers foot the bill on this one.
Well, I think you make an excellent point, and in fact, I tried to say that in the film that ultimately just having universal health care isn't going to fix the bigger problem that we have. And I think one of the bigger problems we have is that, as I say in the film, that we live in this me society. It's all about me. I got to get mine. You get yours. I get mine. Every man for himself. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And in these other countries, these other Western industrialized countries, it's about we. And they structure themselves differently. They don't feel good if too many people fall between the cracks. Our attitude is, hey, buddy, sorry. I got my problems. You got yours. You fix yours. I'll fix mine.
Yeah, but we're not going to be able to change that anytime soon.
It's such a.
If we start thinking differently, though, if we just start treating each other, and that's why I show in the film, I reach out in the movie to this guy who's got this anti-Michael Moore website. He's a
right.
That was a great part, by the way.
And his wife, he can't afford her medical bills, and she's got serious problems. And I thought to myself, he said he's going to have to shut his website down attacking me. And I just thought, well, geez, that isn't right. I mean, why should his First Amendment rights of free speech be curtailed because he can't afford his wife's medical bills?
I don't know how you've done that. There have been some message board posts where I actually want to go over and kill his wife, kids, family.
That's horrible. No. I don't want that anymore. And I say this to people. I put that in the film to say to people who are on my side of the political fence, look, we're not going to fix anything in this country until we reach across the great divide that exists here and find some common ground. We've got to start with this attitude. We're all Americans. We're all in the same boat. We're going to.
Well, it's worse now than ever.
We live in a crazy world right now. How can we survive in this world with terrorist attacks and the other things that have occurred, that may occur again, if we don't all say, hey, man, we are all in this together. We can have our political differences, but damn it, we can't be messing around like this.
What was his reaction, Michael, when because that was a great part where this guy's attacking you and you actually anonymously, I don't know if you just said that, but you anonymously paid to have some of the things taken care of so the website kept up. And obviously he learned that since that's happened. What has his reaction been, or has he had one?
I called him just before the film came out to tell him that it was me that sent the $12,000 check for his wife's medical bills. And because I didn't want him sandbagged and blindsided by the media calling him when the movie came out. But when I sent it to him a year ago at the time, I didn't tell him who it was because I wanted him to cash the check. I didn't want him to think, that came from Michael Moore. I'm not going to cash the check. But I did this as, look, I was raised in with certain basic values, and one of those values said that you're to love your enemy. You're to do good to those who persecute you. I don't know, if you guys went to those churches or had those nuns, but that's the way I was taught, and it was a hard thing for me to do. I didn't want to give this guy $12,000 of my money. Every day he writes hateful stuff about me, but I thought, he shouldn't. He has the right to do that in a free country, and not having health insurance means his rights are taken away. So suddenly we're not a free country simply because his wife's sick. That made no sense to me. I don't want to live in that kind of country, and I want it to change. And I'll take the first step by saying, here's something I'll do for someone who hates me. Now, can't we all just figure out a way to structure ourselves differently and take care of each other and not let so many people in our society fall between the cracks? Won't we be living in a better world if we do that?
It sounds great, but I just don't have enough faith in the government to be able to pull something like that off and make it work without it turning into what the HMOs have turned into.
Right.
There just doesn't seem to be a way to make this utopian society work.
I know what you're saying about the government, but if we start to see the government of, by, and for the people, meaning that we actually control it, and if we actually showed up at the polls and voted for people that are going to do the job, and if they don't do the job, we vote them out of there. If we started doing our job as citizens, maybe the government would be a little bit better. There was a time when the government actually did things right. Ask your parents or your grandparents, if their Social Security check comes every month. They love Social Security. The check always comes. It's on the same day every month. It's for the right amount. They never have any trouble with it. It's a big bureaucracy, and yet they take care of tens of millions of senior citizens every single month, and they do it well. We put a man on the moon in 8 years. President Kennedy said we're going to put a man on the moon by the end of the decade, and then we just did it. President Roosevelt said we're going to defeat the Nazis and the Japanese, and we did it. We did it in less time than it's taken us to secure the road from the airport to downtown Baghdad. Now, that was a time when we did things, and the government functioned well, and it got the job done. Why can't we go back to that? What is wrong with us that we can't do that?
It just seems like now it's two big teams, and they're against each other all the time, never working together to get anything done. And that's what we've gotten into. And they're the names. You got the big names, and they're the only ones that can run, and the only ones that could realistically be elected. And people just have this apathy that I can't make a difference. I can't vote in an independent. And life goes on, and things get worse and worse, and we become more and more divided.
Well, we've got to find a way to change that. And I'm saying, as one of the strong voices from the left in this country, that I'm willing to find a way to fix that, because we're not going to make it through the rest of this century divided like this. We've got to come together, and we've got to find issues where we can find some common ground. If health care can be one of them, great, let's do that. But I'll do my part as one individual, and if everybody else can do that, maybe. I just don't want to sink into this kind of the cynicism that says, it's all fucked, forget it, and that's the end of it.
Well, Michael, I had to make a point, too. Like, you were right about Kennedy getting the man on the moon and the government working well. I will say, though, one of the securing the airport road in Baghdad, I know it's just an example, but I think it's a bit of an unfair one, because the military in Iraq could dominate and absolutely do whatever is necessary there. The problem is the public outcry for what it would take to do that. If they wanted that road secured and were allowed to do whatever it would take to secure that road, the road would be secured. The problem is that the public gets too involved now in all military operations.
Here's what I think the problem is that the commander-in-chief, who's essentially the top general.
How do you feel? Do you think Bush is a good president?
I think. Well, here's what I think. I don't know if you guys, if you played football in high school or whatever, but the last person you'd want as the quarterback of the football team is the guy from the tennis team, and that's what we've got here. We've got people who've never been to war, never really served in the military, never really don't understand what this is about, and it's scary when you think about it because we do need a military to defend this country. And I think that we're not in a very good shape. We're not in very good shape right now in terms of being able to defend ourselves against what the real enemy may be.
Yeah. Are you scared that the president could have your food poisoned?
I think he's way too busy now trying to work his way out of a box.
He must really want you out of the picture, though, as I'm thinking. I'm thinking maybe they go old school and get a little poison in your food.
I think they go into the White House screening room and check out Michael's movies and go, hey, look at this. Look at this park. Right. Here I come again.
Yeah. Hey, Michael, before we let you go, we played the Wolf Blitzer confrontation earlier on our show today. It was just great. Because we've been fucked by CNN and the media ourselves with this whole soundbite mentality they have. And
that's right.
It was great to have someone on CNN really just blasting Wolf Blitzer right to his face about the whole thing.
You did smash him really well.
Thank you very much, because you guys are a good example of this, of how you do things that are extremely funny and also very satirical in terms of really you poke the pig is what you do with your humor, and so when you've done that in the past, instead of relaying the whole context of what you've done, you get 7 seconds of it, and it makes you sound like you're straight self. So I know you have been the victims of that, and you're not the only ones. A lot of people have, and ultimately, then the public is victim of it, and we should,
the only thing we do is we bring our experience into this just to tell people that listen to our show. We yell and scream. I'm telling you, they're getting the facts wrong about what happened to us. So can you imagine what else they're doing to the American people with their quote news?
Well, that's how, the first time it happened to me, I thought, geez, I don't think I can believe anything I hear again, because now I've seen how it happens. I've had this peek behind the curtain that the public doesn't have, and now when they tell me things, I don't believe anything. In fact, and I tell people when it comes to me, don't believe a thing that you hear about me or read about me unless you hear it out of my mouth myself or see me do it. Do not believe it. Even if it's good stuff about me, don't believe it. Just simply don't believe it.
I have to know. This is Jim Norton again from Lucky Louie.
Yeah, we know.
Nothing still. Okay.
Got a book out? Happy Endings?
What did the guy say when you called him to tell him that you were the one who had sent the check? You didn't want him sandbagged, but when you told him, is that site still up? Is he still attacking you as hard? What was his reaction just as a man when you called him?
He put a thing up on his website about 15 minutes later thanking me and wishing the film well. And, everybody told me, when you call him, he is going to be so mad, he is going to rip you another one. And I said, no, I don't think so. I think he's going to appreciate the fact that this came from the heart, and I did this because I believe in it. And that's how he responded. And yes, his website's still going, and yes, he still goes after me. and that's the way it should be in a free country.
Absolutely, man.
All right, well, thank you. The film really was great, and again, I haven't agreed with everything you've done either point-wise, but it's I can't not say that this was really, really interesting, and there's no way to defend the insurance companies. It really was great, man. I enjoyed this very much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for what you do.
Thanks, Michael.
Okay, bye-bye.
Take care, man.
There goes Michael Moore. Go check out Sicko for yourself.
Yeah, I mean...
there you go. Check it out for yourself.
It's good.
There are plenty of things I don't agree with him on. But then there's other things makes you think, other things he's trying to. I think he also understands that the more controversy he makes with his films, the more people are going to see his films. He's a filmmaker, all right? He's not just this crusader that runs around trying to get a change done. He's a filmmaker, and when you're a filmmaker, you want people to see your films.
We found a niche.
So he found a great way to get people to watch his films. Every one has been this controversial thing that when he announces his next movie, the second he announces the subject of his movie, there are people bashing it, They're talking about it right up until it comes out and past that, which, that's a talent in itself. We're getting a lot of phone calls, all of us.
Yeah, that means something's wrong.
Why? What was yours?
I don't know.
Was yours I don't know what area code yours was.
What was yours?
I don't know. I got a voicemail. It's easy to check on the iPhone.
Is it 202? Let's hope not.
No, it's a 516.
Oh, wow.
That's Buffalo.
Yeah. No, it's Long Island.
What's in Buffalo?
It's a Long Island thing.
Book signing.
Let's go to Matt in Virginia. Matt.
What's up, boys?
Hey.
First of all, it was a great interview. I really, after seeing Fahrenheit 9/11, I kind of had a sour taste in my mouth about Michael Moore, and, I had really no reason to like him, but, after that interview, he really came off as, just a regular guy who just wants to do what he can to help. You hear so much of this right-wing bashing of him, you really kind of buy into it, and, it's just good to hear him talk like a regular guy with people like you guys who are going to really, tell it how it is and not hold punches and not only talk the right-wing talk. I mean, it was just a great interview, and it just...
Someone on Instant Feedback, they go, time to put on your knee pads, boys.
No, I mean...
I don't think that was going on at all.
To be honest, the first 3 minutes, I thought it was going to go that way, and then, Anthony, when he started getting into, just the social programs, I think it really turned around, and that's when you guys really got comfortable with being able to let him know how you felt. So, I mean, overall, it was an amazing interview, guys. That's all I got.
All right, thank you, man. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to... Here's what you do. You can't get on there and just bash, and have them fight back, and that. That's entertaining and stuff, but it wouldn't be honest. It's not honest. Or go against everything he says. I'm not a liberal. It's the last thing I am. I hate liberals. But there are some ideas that they have and that Michael Moore has that I think are like, wow, they're at the very least, you got to say thought-provoking, to where you want to go out and learn more about that subject and what's going on. It's these people on both sides, the liberal and conservative side, that just blindly follow what their leaders tell them, and will never even listen to the other side to then maybe want to look into it further. That's how you learn things. You could just say, oh, whatever that person says is bullshit. Well, check the facts. Look it up. It's readily available everywhere. And do that. And what I got to say about Michael Moore, the guy does put out some thought-provoking stuff. Some of it I've written off as complete bullshit and emotional and stuff. But I did like what he said about just do for other people. At this point in this country, the way we are, like I said, I don't think a socialized medicine works because this country isn't that hip on socialism. We're so entrenched in capitalism and making the best of ourselves and getting ourselves to the top of the pyramid. And that, in this country, the example of that is being successful, wealthy, whatever you want to call it. Other people have other ideas, happiness, this, that, the other thing. The quintessential success symbol in this country right now is the dollar. Period. I don't want to hear from anyone else that that's not the way it's portrayed. It is. Until that changes, socialism in any real way isn't going to work in this country. We aren't built for it. We aren't set up. We haven't been trained for it as Americans. Americans are very independent people. That's why he was saying people, don't fall through the cracks in a lot of these other countries. We're an independent people. We like our freedom. We like it independently. And as far as charity giving goes, I'm a lot like he is. I'll say that as far as I give to people I know that need stuff. Or to people like I'll read something in the paper that'll be horrific, and I'll find the address and I'll send a check. So some puddin-head little girl could get her wheelchair back. Her
van, right?
Wasn't it the van thing? The van and the wheelchair was stolen. But there's things like that kind of
secretly
hit me.
He's in cahoots with Marge from the Little Shelter.
Little Shelter. You
have donated to the Little Shelter, and we beat her up.
Don't ruin it.
And we beat her up every time she calls.
Don't ruin it. There are certain things I do on my own. I don't like the idea of being forced into this socialized government program, which amounts to more taxes. I pay enough taxes. I pay taxes up the ass to keep the country rolling. That's fine. But to then come up with these socialized programs that are supposed to help, let the people in your communities that have, made something of themselves and attained some type of American dream help out. And if that happens, then people are getting fixed. They're getting healthy. They're doing better, and you don't need this government involvement in your medicine.
I think you got to start your political talk show.
Oh, you think that's what I ought to do?
Yeah, you're done with dick jokes. It's time. John and Philly, what's up?
Hey, guys, what's happening?
Hey.
Welcome aboard.
You guys know, I hope Ben Kingsley heard that because you guys get better interviews than CNN or any of them stupid news shows.
Well, it's like I always said. Ben Kingsley is a bit of a cunt.
Fuck Ben Kingsley and his fuckhole.
That's right.
Wow, an Oscar winner?
Absolute. Right. Take that fucking Oscar and shove it up his ass.
Shove it up his ass.
Thank you, John. You know, because that
put on a hat that says Gandhi and pay someone to shit in your face. What do you think of them apples, BK?
We get a horrific reputation, but if a guest comes on our show and is going to be interesting and thought provoking, we can do a very good job. But if a guest comes in here and calls it in, we're going to call him out on it. But
right.
These publicists and these people out there that are booking, guests for shows, they just don't understand that we really do a great job for their people.
What Opie means is the Jews.
But seriously, man, Ben Kingsley found out, who we were and said, fuck it. Instead of, why not come in here and challenge us?
Yeah.
We'll challenge you. Let's go. Let's have some fun.
Probably be very nice to him.
I was going to say to
come
Ben,
in.
my first question would have been, Mr. Kingsley, you won the Oscar. What's